Bye-bye, sweetie. Well, it's just a nice day for a ride. It's my day off. I worked the last couple days, and then I'm off today. Work again tomorrow. But today was bulk garbage day, and I don't know if you saw it at the end of my driveway there, but there is a shitload of fucking garbage going on. And working hard to get as much cleaned up as I can in as little bit of time as I can, because I have, you know, the whole work thing going on. So I had some old carpet and ripped it up. I'm going to opt for the wood floors underneath. They look to be in pretty good shape. There might be a few places I need to touch up or figure out what I can do. Probably just cover it with a throw rug or whatever. But it's coming together nice. So I want to take opportunity here and enjoy this little bit of weather while it's nice. Watch what's going on, lady. Yeah, see, it's bulk day. There's all kinds of bulk garbage all over the place. These garbage men are just going to be all hating me. Dude, you look like the Grinch, man. Anyway, I have a little bit of a inner conflict going on. I talked about my kids in the previous video, and I was a single dad for a long time. And you know, my daughter's grown up now. She's got a boyfriend. I'm going to be a grandpa. That's recent news. I found out on my birthday. That was my birthday present. For 52 years, I get the birthday present of, you get the name Grandpa now, which is cool. I mean, it happens to the best of us. Sometimes it doesn't happen to people that don't have kids. I think that's pretty much it. Once you get disowned by your kids, which is kind of what I got going on now. My son, he's upset with me, you know, because when he was living with me, I had rules. You know, rules about things like cleaning up after yourself, going to school. You know, I was asking a lot. I didn't think it was too much to ask, but apparently it is. And apparently asking kids to do that means you're being abusive. Now, I will say, I'm a pretty vocal person. And when I say something, I don't always say it the most tactful of ways. It can be a little rough around the edges, if you know what I mean. Which is okay. I mean, kids that know me all this time, they should be used to it, right? But, you know, I've been in the single dad mode for 15, almost 16 years. Anyway, he got pissed at me the one day because I said, listen, I said, you need to clean this shit up because there was a huge mess. And I said, it needs to be done by a certain time or your girlfriend can go home and not come back for 2 weeks. So he packed up all his shit. Not all of his shit. I mean, he left most of his shit. He packed up his clothes, went to go over to his girlfriend's house, and I sent him a text. I said, you know, I ask you to clean up after yourself, go to school. You know, don't smoke my house up, because he likes to smoke up my house. I don't want my house reeking like reefer, you know. So, smoking up my house. And I told him, I said, you know, I ask you to stop all this. I says, if you don't like it, I says, maybe it's time for you to think about your own place. Well, of course, you know, he's got it turned around now, and he said, I threw him out. So he's done with me. So that's pretty much where that stands. You know, he had a little text conversation with my mom today, with his grandma. And apparently it's abusive to ask somebody to clean up after themselves and, you know, go to high school. I mean, I know high school sucks. It could kind of be thought of as abuse. As kids, though, they cry about it. It was nothing like when I went. When I went to high school, you know, if you were getting bullied, you were physically getting bullied by some big, overgrown fuck, you know? And, today, oh, they said something about me on the internet. My vagina hurts. I don't get it, you know what I mean? How do you know, what do they do? Virtually throw you down the steps? Because, you know, there's one guy that I went to school with, he died. He ended up with a troubled life, ended up into drugs, and he ended up dying. I don't know how he died, but prior to him dying, the last thing I had heard was he is pretty much a homeless crackhead. He was a big red-headed guy, and he probably was 50 pounds heavier than me, 8-10 inches. It was pretty intimidating in high school, and once a week he used to punch me in the fucking neck. I mean, that shit hurt, man. You could probably really hurt somebody bad doing that, now that I think back, but you know, these kids, you don't have quite that amount of violence going on in the schools. I mean, I'm sure they have bullies and stuff, but that stuff is really not tolerated, you know? I don't know, I think the kids today are kind of soft. You know, Chris Rock had a special, and he was, what was that? Tambourine, yeah. He talks about bullies. He's like, bullies are doing your kids a favor. He's like, the world's full of assholes, and the sooner you learn how to deal with that, the better off you're going to be, you know? The sooner you learn that people ain't shit. I used to have that going on. I was kind of like a egomaniac with an inferiority complex. I had that going on as a kid. Well, up until I was about 30. Maybe 35. And, you know, I used to look at people and be like, oh, I wish I could be more like that. I wish I could be more like that. Or, oh, he's got it going on. And the reality was is they just put on a good show, man. They weren't shit. You know, nobody's better than you. And the sooner younger people learn that, and nobody's better than them, and that you're not better than other people too, because that was a little bit of an issue for me. You know, I thought, oh man, I got it going on, you know. But I really didn't. I wasn't crap, but I thought I was. You know, you humble down and be realistic. Just be nice to people, that's it. Take care of your business, keep your side of the street clean, and you're good to go. You're good to go. That's the key. You know, Cyclecruza today, he had a thing, you know, he was talking about happiness. He said the only material thing that makes him happy is his motorcycle. He doesn't care about the money anymore. He doesn't care about, he's not motivated by that. And he said the key words, you know, happiness from within. And that's where happiness comes from. It took me a long time to learn that. I was coming up on 40 years old when I learned that, you know. Before that, I was unhappy. You know, and I'd get something and it would make me happy. I'd get something physical. Oh, look at my new car. That'd make you happy for a couple months, you know. And then it wears off. And you're still stuck with you. And if you ain't happy with you, you're never going to be happy with you until you change what it is you're unhappy with. I had read this one book. It was called Healing Your Aloneness. And I was feeling sorry for myself. My girlfriend had broke up with me, and my whole life was upside down. And right before I got this book, I had this big epiphany, and I saw myself for who I was. I used to drink a lot, and you know, I wasn't doing the right things, and I actually got a chance to see myself for who I actually was, and I got sober, started going to counseling, and I worked on all that inside stuff. And I got to be a pretty happy person. I'm damn happy, and you know, people are like, oh, like, you need people to make you happy. No, you really don't. You don't need anybody to make you happy. They can add to your happiness. They can supplement your happiness, but they can't create happiness, you know? That all comes from you, and that's where that's from. That was a hard life lesson. Another life lesson I had was, and I could see people for who they are, and I wouldn't judge and be like, oh, well, you look like you fell out of the ugly tree, hit all the branches on the way down, and then smacked your face on a rock, because, you know what? A lot of times those are nice people. But, you know, they got, you know, some of us are blessed with good looks, and some of us are blessed with not good looks, you know? It's all from inside. It really is. We all come in different shapes, sizes, colors, odors, flavors, whatever you want to call it. Everybody's got their own thing, and that's cool. I appreciate you for who you are. Come on, man. Look ahead, man. Don't be a dick. I especially don't like how people drive. You know, when people act like they're all that in their car. I'm not saying I'm a big tough guy and I'll kick somebody's ass, but you know what? If you want to have a verbal discussion, I will chew you up, spit you out. Even if I have big lunch, I could do it. I could rhyme, reason, and all that. As long as I'm not emotionally overtaken. That's another thing I like to talk about. Emotions. If you have something happen to you, and you react out of emotion, you're going to be wrong with how you're reacting. You just are. You may be correct in the fact that, hey, I have a right to be upset about this, I was done wrong, that wasn't fair to me, etc., etc. But if you react in a piss poor manner and you let your emotions drive that, you will be driven to do the wrong things. Now, let's say something happens and you don't react emotionally. You give yourself a minute to think about it, cool down, kind of let things slide for a second, and then you respond in a dignified, rational manner. You have the power to show your point of view. You have the power to be right, but you know, you have a choice with that as well. Somebody asked me this one time before. They said, so do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? I said, I want both. They said, well, guess what? You can't have both, so you need to pick one. And that's so true. You know, you don't have to be right. You don't have to prove you're right. You don't have to. You just don't have to. You can let it go. Let that person figure it out themselves. And go on your merry way. And keep your side of the street clean by not responding emotionally and doing something spiteful that comes back to make you the bad piece of crap. You know what I mean? Gotta be the bigger person. Gotta be the bigger person.